Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's everyone's favorite anime and manga podcast, lOsTAKUS. My name is Eric.
And I'm JT.
This week, we're going to go over the chapters that were released this past Sunday, which was the 27th, I believe. Yeah, the 27th. So Sunday, the 27th for Shonen.
Like, don't even ask
Jump.
me. Like, if y'all watched our first episode, if y'all looked in the description, I described that the first episode of the podcast is a week behind from when it was posted.
Sometimes we might be behind, but oh well. It is what it is. We try our best. We're trying our best.
The important thing is that we did it.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. So go check it out.
As we do more, we will get better at it. For this week, for the Shounen mangas of this week, we only have One Piece as usual, My Hero, and Dr.Stone. We'll probably include Black Clover one day because it's really good. It's just the fact that I haven't read Black Clover since the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Black Clover.
So that's my
really
fault.
Good. It happens. Black Clover is really, really good right now.
That's because Jujutsu Kaisen's still out.
Yeah. From our last video, again, Jujutsu Kaisen is on hiatus up until probably the end of next month.
We only have a few chapters to talk about, and last time it was a lot of catching up to do, so that's why the video was so long. For this one, it's just one chapter. So we're also gonna just mention a little bit of snippets of news that we've heard that are interesting throughout the week. For me, is that Shonen Jump is doing a web series on a reality show for manga creators, which is weird, but it's different.
Yeah.
But it's basically almost like a game show, a reality game show
for mangakas.
To find the next manga creator.
That.
Me neither, because at the same time, we've already had so many great manga creators that just come out of the blue.
Exactly. Like, they're
trying something different. We'll see. Because I really don't like reality TV shows myself.
Same for me, mainly because, especially with mangakas, as you said, they sometimes kind of come out of the blue, and it's just, this guy blew up out of nowhere because of his storytelling, right?
Like the Demon Slayer creator. They need to get on a TV show to blow up like that.
Yeah, they just blew up. And for the most part, when you're creating something, especially with mangakas that are starting out, sometimes, as you've put it before, they can't really, like, they could draw, right? But there's work to be done. But however, even though they're lacking on their drawings, their storytelling is out of this world, and they eventually get better with their drawing. But from the beginning, they just have a knack for storytelling. How do you, I guess, compete in a reality show?
Judge.
How do you judge that, right? Because everything is to somebody's liking, like your own personal taste, my personal taste, things like that, right? Or personal taste for the masses. And usually when they do really well storytelling wise and it appeals to a lot of people in the masses, then that's when you have a banger on your hands.
The way that what I was reading, the way this was gonna work is that the mangakas were gonna work with Shounen Jump editors, experienced Shounen Jump editors, and then they were just gonna work on a manga story, on a series that may be serialized on Shounen Jump Plus, not Shounen Jump Weekly. I just found out that it existed. I honestly didn't know. And from what Eric told me, it is
on a website.
Purely it's just digital.
Yeah, it's just digital, and you have a lot of manga there compared to the Shonen Jump app in terms of what you can access. Mainly on the Shonen Jump Plus app, you have like smaller kind of up and coming mangas or one shots sometimes, and you get to read through those, and you might find something good on there. So
like Kaiju number 8, which got into the weekly Shonen Jump series, so it moves up. So you can move up from it.
Kaiju number 8 was one of them, and Spy and Family is another one. Both really, really good mangas that I've read. The news on that, it just moved from a weekly to a monthly.
No. Well,
it moved from weekly to a monthly, and I can see why, because
the artwork is pretty badass.
The artwork is really badass. He would release chapters weekly, every 2 chapters, right? You'd get 2 chapters, and then a week after you would get he would do drawings basically, and you'd have like 4 pages worth of illustrations. There you go. He would do like every 2 weeks or something illustrations.
So I haven't read Kaiju number 8, but Eric told me about it. I checked it out. The artwork looks really good. If you don't know what a kaiju is, it's Godzilla, King Kong, stuff like that. Monsters, big monster battles. So you're saying that every week it was 2 chapters?
No. Like it would be
a weekly of chapters. So you'll get 2 chapters for 2 weeks back to back, and then eventually you'll get illustrations.
Yeah.
Okay, because from the way you put it, I thought there was 2 chapters a week.
No,
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, no. So weekly chapters. You know, you get your chapter 1 week. The next
and after
week
2 weeks, he goes into illustrations.
Yeah,
that's kind of like a break.
Yeah,
so it's good that it moved into a monthly series.
Yeah.
That way he has more time to work on his artwork.
Absolutely, mainly because it's a really good story, and as you said, the drawings are really, really good.
Pretty simple.
And it's really interesting because it's a shonen, but the main protagonist is really old. He's like in his 30s,
which is rare for a shonen.
Very rare, because most Shonen
are young boys.
Exactly. They're
Deku,
Naruto,
Luffy.
You're about to call him One Piece? Were you about to call him One Piece?
I was just going to mention One Piece. But at the same time, One Piece. Look at these 3 guys. They were below their 20s. One of them is dead.
Spoiler alert. Our main character, One Piece. So Kaiju number 8 is now going to monthly serialization versus weekly. Spy and Family, really good. I've heard rumors of an anime coming out because it does really, really well, and I'm hoping it does get an anime because
I'm pretty sure it will. Something like animes. So animes don't just become animes, or usually most of the time they're adaptations from a manga, light novel, or such. But it sometimes doesn't all depend on the story. Also, it depends on merchandise that they can sell from it. Kaiju number 8 literally says Kaiju in the title. So what do you get with Kaijus? You get a lot of toys.
Yeah,
that's merchandise that's to be moved and be made.
Yeah.
So no matter what, even if the story wasn't that great, it would probably become an anime just so they could sell merch.
Yeah. And then with Spy and Family, it's a humorous story, but there's a lot of like heartwarming scenes in there, mainly because a family, right? And there's a lot I've seen a lot of like merchandise on like their official Twitter that they have, on their social medias that they post. I was like, why am I not in Japan right now?
And cute things sell. Biggest example right now, Bananya.
Oh yeah.
Bananya teamed up with Gucci.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They have a shirt.
If y'all haven't seen Bananya, go check it out. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's super cute. And the episodes are all of a minute long. And they have like 30 episodes. You can finish it in 30 minutes.
So let's work your imagination. When you hear Bananya, what comes to mind?
We're not going to tell you.
I'm going to tell you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bananya. Banana. Nya. In anime, what makes nya?
Dogs.
Cats.
Cats. Yeah, cats.
So,
banana cat.
It's a banana cat. Basically, the face is of a cat, a kawaii cat, and the body is a banana.
Yep, that is correct. How do we know this? We've seen it.
We watched like 13 episodes because they were a minute long, and it was funny. It was funny. It was pretty funny. We wouldn't have wasted 13 minutes of our life. It wasn't funny. What we do with bad animes, there's bad animes out there. Yet I watch them.
My time with bad animes.
Why do you watch bad animes? Why do you waste your time? You don't have to. We will tell you what is bad, or we can help you avoid bad animes. But I will watch it because I'm the type that likes to differentiate. If I see a bad anime, I'm going to keep on watching it just so I know what bad is and what good is and what great is. Yeah. That's just my personal knowledge to get a feel.
For me, once I invested so much into an anime or a manga and it gets bad, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer. Once it consistently gets bad and I've put too much time into it, I'll finish it because I've put too much time into it already. So there it is. So
yeah, I used to as well. Not anymore. Now that I'm like doing all this edits for these videos and stuff, I can't waste my time like that. I gotta manage my time. So if I see or feel that an anime or a manga is becoming bad, well, a manga I'm more lenient because it's much faster to read mangas than to watch an anime. But if I see an anime, I'm like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. Now
I'll stop. Before I didn't used to drop anything. But now I do because my time is a little bit more important.
You heard me. You can rewind it if you want to, but I said what I said, and I stand on it. So
I'll show you.
Gets bad. Attack on Titan. Demon Slayer. So some other big news was that they released a preview for Chainsaw Man. By they, I mean Mappa. And woo, boy, was it lit. It was lit AF. Let me tell you, I'm so excited. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, Mappa, please, 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 please pay your animators much higher than what everybody, all these animators deserve raises, because the amount of crazy good animation that's gonna be in Chainsaw Man. On top, they're already doing Jujutsu Kaisen and they're doing Attack on Titan 2, which they don't need to. You know, they should focus on Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man, because woo, it's really great. And if you haven't already, we always post links to the animator GoFundMe.
Oh, the dormitory.
The dormitory for the animators in Japan. That way they can stay free, these dormitories, and get paid. And while they don't have to use their own money to pay for rent. Because if you didn't know, animators get paid really, really, really
very low wages. Most animators start at $1 or less than $1 to do their works. But the way this dormitory works is only for a certain amount of time, like 6 months to a year's worth of time. Then they move on, and when they find a stable job or stable income and move on forward.
Yep. So this is to help up and coming animators or animators that are struggling. So we always post a link under all of our videos.
Ever seen behind the scenes, like even for like Disney movies, watch the behind the scenes and see how the animators work. Such a tedious job.
Yes, it is very tedious. However, Disney, based in America, they get paid a lot. They get paid way more than in Japan.
And not to be biased here, but if you just see Japanese animes compared to like cartoons or even Disney movies tell great stories.
Absolutely.
But animation wise, you're comparing some animes to any other animation type around the world, nothing compares.
Absolutely. So,
and Team Mappa, Ufotable, and others as such shows that Japanese animation is the best.
Go check out the preview for Chainsaw Man if you haven't already. It's gonna be a freaking banger. Like I'm telling you, when I told JT about Jujutsu Kaisen and reading it and everything, and first opening, they teased the first opening on YouTube. It got 1 million views within 24 hours. Chainsaw Man's preview got over 1 million views in 4 hours. 4 hours, JT. 4 hours. It just goes to show the immense popularity of this story.
In its manga form. Just manga.
And it's just manga right now. It's just manga. If you haven't read the manga for it, go and read it. It's really awesome.
You've told me about it. I've had it. So I have like a list of mangas to get to. And I've had Chainsaw Man in there for like the last 2 years. Even when you told me about it, I told you, oh, look, I already have it on my list. And I showed you, I'm like, it's right there. I'll eventually get to it 2 years later. No, but I've seen the animation. It looks sick. I've seen the artwork. Pretty good artwork. Looking forward to it. And I will read that manga, and I guarantee I'll finish it in like a day or two.
Yeah.
It's like, what, 100 and so, or over 100 chapters?
Probably around like 130 to 150. Don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. I'm so excited because as it was releasing, it was in line with Jujutsu Kaisen releasing at the same time as it.
Pretty great.
It was great. It was a great time.
The stories were similar.
Very similar.
Kind of the tone of the story.
Like the tone of the story, it was similar. Not completely.
Again, I haven't read it, but why do I know this? All I need to do is watch just some clips, or not watch some clips. I just saw some pages, some illustrations, and I could get a feel from the stories just from the illustrations alone.
Yeah. One thing that I didn't know is that they interviewed Fujimoto Sensei, the creator of Chainsaw Man, and his main inspiration for Chainsaw Man, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No, how obvious can he be?
Literally, that was his inspiration.
Speaking of him, he's going to be one of the judges for that manga contest that Shounen Jump is doing, Million Tag. He's going the creator of Chainsaw Man is going to be one of the judges. That's one of the three. Now, one of them is going to be a comedian trope group or something, and the other one's going to be a seiyuu.
I think that's all the news for me. Anything else for you?
Oh, yes. Speaking of Jujutsu Kaisen, the visual key art for the movie Jujutsu Kaisen 0 based on the manga not stars any of the characters from Jujutsu Kaisen, but its own solo side characters. But more importantly is the main character is our boy Yuta, and he looks, for me, have you seen the key visuals? No? Well, for me, I kind of was disappointed because Yuta is a bit emo. He's a bit dark. He has a monster in his closet. Literally. And so he's kind of like a depressed kid. He looks skinny, wimpy, And then Gojo, situation happens where he meets Gojo, just like our boy Yuji. Almost forgot his name. Almost the same situation, almost the same scenario, almost the same beginnings between the story of Yuta and Yuji. Not only are they related with the Ys, their story also relates pretty similarly in the terms of meeting Gojo. But the key visual art that they showed for the movie, Yuta looks a lot more mature. That's the only thing that kind of bothered me because, bam, look at Yuta. He doesn't look that much mature, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't look that mature. He looks like an emo kid. But in the key visual arts, I would say he looks pretty mature. But that was a little bit iffy for me. I was going to ask you that if you've seen him.
I think because in the manga, Volume 0, if you haven't read it, go check it out. Precursor to Jujutsu Kaisen, or what Jujutsu Kaisen is now. The beginnings of Jujutsu Kaisen, right? When Gege was first getting his ideas out, he created that Volume 0, which dealt with focused on Yuta and his story. Time did progress. It didn't really seem like it as you were reading though, but time did progress because he was training with Maki and everybody else.
Panda.
Shabu
Shabu boy. I always forget his name, but I always remember Shabu Shabu.
But time does progress there, so that might have been maybe what you saw was like.
But the key visual art that they showed was him walking with his blade, and he just looked really mature. Really mature from what I would have liked.
Oh, like the poster you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now that's what he looks like at the end. I think
if he looks like that throughout the show,
really?
Well, throughout the movie.
Oh, okay. Throughout the movie,
because that's what a key visual art is.
Yeah.
When they show you illustrations of how it might look, and most of them he looked mature.
Oh, okay.
That's my only iffy thing. Like I love Mappa, and they did Jujutsu Kaisen a huge favor with their animation. Really great. One of the greatest animations aside from Demon Slayer. And anything Ufotable touches is amazing. I will put total trust on them to make an anime look fantastic and not mess with it a lot, like not go away from the mangaka, the creator, was going for. But seeing that one, I was like, and that's pretty much it for me for this week as well. So
okay, cool. Let's get on with it.
One Piece.
One Piece was very interesting this week, mainly because of what was said at the end. But before we get to that, we're gonna start from the beginning and what kind of happened.
Can we remember what chapter this was? 1017. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I was just thinking.
Don't quote us. Yeah, our memory's not that great.
Especially mine's right now.
I think it's 1017. I'm gonna go with 1017 because it feels that just.
I think it was.
Right. But at the beginning, we got to see what was going on, the aftermath of like Luffy falling. They saved him, they rescued him, and they're doing like chest compressions to get all the water out. They're just
spitting up bubble like a fountain, water like a fountain.
One of the things that caught me really crazy was the fact that Chopper's already cute, right? And I'm like, Oda, you can't possibly make Chopper any cuter. He can. The after effects of the Rumble Ball turned him into a baby, a little chibi Chopper. They called him Geezer Chopper because he's a baby, but he talks like an old man now. So you get the best of both worlds. He's a baby and he acts really old. So I was just like, oh my God, what is this?
So in that scene, he was talking about making a healing elixir, like a super fast healing one, but it would have like a lot of setback for Zoro.
The animals from the
Zou.
From Zou, they have one, and the doctor had it on him, and Chopper was like, oh, we'll give it to him. And then he was telling him there's repercussions for it. And Zoro was like, I don't care what happens to my body right now. You just got to give me that stuff.
That's a plot device right there.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. Like, it
is.
Yeah.
It really is.
There's been precedent for it because Luffy.
I was about to say that. Just like with
Ivankov.
I always forget his name. But yeah, that was another plot device that he was able to. But again, Ivankov was life expectancy shrinks. This one, they just said that he was just gonna get a strong kickback from after it wears off. Yeah,
because it's basically like hyper regeneration, which is why Dragon Ball Z can't say anything. They got senzu beans, bro.
They really do.
So yeah, right. But as I said, precedent for it. versus like what I've seen on Twitter. I'm gonna quote Twitter a lot because I'm on there a lot. I really should not be wasting my time with Twitter, but I'm on there a lot because of I'm just interested in what people have to say about the chapters, and be in the community of like anime and manga people, right?
But then again, that's why people watch stuff like this.
Exactly.
So it's a good thing.
A lot of people were upset. They're just like, that's an ass bull. I'm like, you want to see Zoro anyway. Why are you complaining? You know you want to see him. Like, we want to see him, right?
Honestly, yeah. Like, what would be a big battle without Zoro?
Exactly.
He was taken out by Yonkos. He did his job. He blocked 2 attacks from Big Mom and Kaido. A lot of
people...
He told me that a lot of people on Twitter were mad about that. But I'm like, no, it's Zoro. His pain tolerance is probably the highest out of everybody.
Exactly. The other thing is now we finally get to see little bits and pieces of the rest of the Straw Hats starting to fight with the Topi Robo or the Flying Six. But the main one that they decided to focus on in this chapter was Who's Who, mainly because he has a past. And it's a past that Jinbei did not care about. When Jinbei was fighting him, he saw...
I thought Jinbei mentioned it because of the skills that he was doing. And
that's what he mentioned.
So you're one of the CP officers.
Exactly, because he saw him using the Iron Body, which is Tekkai, and then Soru, which is it's called Shave, but when they move at high speeds, and he was using those moves, and he's like, I know that. You were in CP9, weren't you? He's like, oh.
And he goes onto his backstory at Jinbei's like, I don't care.
I don't care. He's like,
bring it.
Yeah. Jinbei's like, I don't care. But
I was compared to Rob Lucci.
And Jinbei's like, let's just fight. We're going to fight. And Who's Who tells him, you should care because you're in the Straw Hats. And what do I have against the Straw Hats? I messed up. And I messed up because they stole a certain fruit from the ship that I was guarding, and it was the gum fruit. And I lost my mind mainly because going into this story, Oda always talks about the will, right? Like will and passing on wills and dreams and everything like that. At this point, I'm kind of speculating that gum fruit, the Gomu Gomu no Mi, was a fruit of someone really important. Maybe Joy Boy, maybe someone else in the clan of D, right? However, I do not think it is like some kind of country or destroyer, land destroyer, devil fruit.
Well, it's just a rubber fruit.
Exactly, right?
But can any fruit get to an awakened state?
Yes, every fruit can get it to awakened state. It's going to depend on the user, right? They have to train for it. But every devil fruit, as far as I know, can become awakened. So we don't know what Luffy's awakening, but even if it gets awakened, I don't see how it would be something considered a dangerous weapon. I mainly think that it was
important from someone in history.
Exactly. And they don't want it to get out. And that's why it's funny how Shanks revolves around a lot of characters in One Piece. Now we know he stole it from Who's Who. And that's what led to him being in prison. It must be really important because they threw him in jail for it because he failed the mission. And I was oh my god.
Again, Shanks is a badass.
Exactly.
And this Ollie becoming Shanks seems to be leading this story.
Yeah. He's a very, very
He's leading history.
Yeah.
To a certain point where he wants it to reach by a certain someone.
He's essentially like controlling in the back. And
puppeteer, so is he good or bad? Well, we'll see.
We'll see. For those of you that are like, oh, Shanks, he gave Luffy. Nah, it don't matter. He could...
Might have been using him all along. Might have pulled an Aizen.
That was mainly like the most important thing.
Healing Zoro, Sanji fighting Queen.
Sanji fighting Queen. That's another big one right there. We finally got to see Queen's hybrid form, and he's a cyborg.
Which I was like, he became a Megazord. I was laughing because he reminded me of the Green Ranger's Dragon Sword?
He became a Megazord.
That was so hilarious. His tail was like the Dragon Sword. His arm was like the Dragon Sword. I'm like, what is this?
I'm like, he should be fighting Frankie. Cyborg versus Cyborg.
Yeah, Frankie's meh. Yeah. Sanji has to be the one to fight him because Sanji is top 3.
And also, Queen has a history with his dad.
Which Sanji doesn't care for.
He doesn't care for, but I guess if you look at it in terms of that way, like, oh, they need to fight, right? They don't really need to fight. If you're going in that order, 3 versus 3, 2 versus 2, and 1 versus 1, Zoro fighting King might be a possibility. I would like to see that fight. That would be
most
really
likely
good.
That's why they're bringing him back.
Or teaming up against Kaido again to help Luffy.
I think Luffy and Kaido is definitely just going to be a one-on-one. But the thing is that they're no longer on top, one-on-one solo. Now they're going into the crowd.
Yep.
The final battle between Kaido and Luffy is going to be seen by everybody.
This is kind of where that logic from before, the whole on a one-on-one fight always bet Kaido, that is true, but he's been consistently wearing down. No matter how tough you are, if you get consistently wore down, then there might be a chance there that Luffy does beat him one-on-one.
He doesn't have infinite stamina. Exactly. He almost has impenetrable body for injury, but we don't know about his stamina.
Exactly.
So we'll see.
The stamina might do him in, or Luffy teams up with Yamato and they both go at it and take him down. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Oh, and then the next important thing, or even the second thing that happened after the Chopper one, I think the Chopper led this story off. Otama again, everybody that ate her dumplings, she pretty much is ordering everybody and reassuring everybody. Well, they're already under her devil fruit spell, or control. So she's just basically telling everybody not to give up.
Yeah.
Because Momonosuke and Luffy will come back and they're not down and out. So basically she's rallying up everybody that's under her dumpling control. So they fed Usopp, Nami, and Otama, went around feeding their dumplings, her devil fruit power, to a lot of Kaido's members, strong members too, what they call the numbers. And then basically she gains control. They see her as her friend. They all see her as an ally. So they basically obey her.
Yep. And that's a pretty OP power. But they have explained that it only works on
certain low tier level.
No, only smile fruits.
Oh, really?
It cannot.
I don't remember that.
It's not in the chapter. It was in
the CBS?
Yes,
CPS? Whatever.
SPS. It was a part of one of the SPSs, I think, or one of the color walks. I don't remember which one it was. But Oda did explain it works only with smile fruit users. It does not work against
very unique. Very
exactly
that's
right.
A plot device right there. You should have not mentioned that.
I like it because it's not as old.
Because the smile fruits didn't exist until Kaido's group made it exist.
That is true. That is
so
true.
Basically, if she had that devil power, it would be useless.
Yeah.
But was her devil fruit? Is it a devil fruit power or is hers a smile fruit power?
No, because all smiles are all animals. They're all animal based.
Right.
So that is a devil fruit power. But
so it would be essentially useless if it didn't exist.
Yeah.
The smile fruits didn't exist because they were caused by Kaido.
Yeah.
And Doflamingo. So that's pretty much a plot device that I do not like. I did not know that.
I didn't think about that, but yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
So we pretty much went through One Piece. You say good stuff. I told him I don't like this chapter. Didn't like this chapter. There's a lot of messy things going on. A lot of people didn't care about what other people were saying, so why would I care? We got nothing from Yamato, not even a snippet from the last chapter.
Of course, that's gonna happen. You know how Oda does. He'll move from one.
I'm anticipating it real bad.
Me too, and that's how keeps you reading. Like, that's smart.
True. A lot of things happen in this chapter that a lot of characters didn't care about, so why would I care about?
The devil fruit thing that was a big one. The whole gum fruit, the gum no mi.
Yeah,
I thought
that's one thing that came out here good.
Anyways, with Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone was
chapter
hilarious.
202?
That's on you. I don't remember. I will tell you right now, I don't remember the chapter number.
We're going to have to start because then, I could put it on the description later.
It will be in the description below.
Yeah.
In the description below for the chapter.
We'll try to remember in the future.
Dr. Stone was hilarious this week. They finally land in Barcelona, in Spain. They finally get to Spain. And the first thing they find is...
olive trees.
Olive trees.
Because Francois, or Francois, whatever you want to read it, is Francois. Because it's, French. She wanted, really bad, olive oil.
And she had a really good reasoning for it, too. She wanted to taste it herself because she missed it, but at the same time... I love this, that she's always thinking about everybody. She told everybody, I want it, but at the same time, it's going to make my cooking go from here to here. And what did she do? They found olive trees, got the olives, made it into olive oil. She cooks for them, and they are blown away by the food that she makes.
It's hilarious that they go in here for a certain mineral, which is fluorite. They're in Spain for fluorite, and instead of going after fluorite, what they're there for, the important thing to help create a spacesuit and the spaceship, they go straight for olive. Because eating is important.
It is, exactly, and that's what Senku said, because somebody was against going to look for olives, but Senku's like, we're in an unfamiliar territory. What's the first thing we need to do? Shelter and food, water. And that's why Senku...
And with food, you can respect other people's culture.
Exactly. And that's
beautiful. Also important.
That is beautiful that Senku mentioned that.
Because they did revive some people in Spain.
They revived them. They made the food for them, and they got them on their side. They're like, here you go. There's some food that we made from your home country. I know you just woke up, but here you go. And they immediately were like, our saviors, please tell us what to do. And
they were extremely grateful because they saw how much they were trying to respect their culture.
Exactly.
So that's when they agreed to help them.
Francois speaks Spanish.
Now she does. She learned Spanish real quick.
I was like, that's awesome.
She made churros.
Oh yeah, she did make churros. They
was
made
hilarious.
Churros.
He drew the churro pretty well. I was like, yep, those are them churros.
That was so great. I'm like,
I was laughing when I saw that. I was like, dope.
Oh, man,
that's great.
That's so awesome. Dr. Stone.
Which again, funny enough, like I ate churros, and I always thought that was a Mexico thing, because the first time I ever ate churros was when I was little, was in Mexico. And then reading Dr. Stone, so you learned something. It was originally made in Spain.
Yeah.
I learned something.
They found the fluorite, but they needed people to help them excavate the fluorite. So they got the people that were willing to help the people that revived. They wanted to help them. So they're like, let's go, let's do it. Let's mine the fluorite. And it was so awesome that they have such a powerhouse team with Senku and Ryusei, because they're both really charismatic. And it's crazy.
They're both great leaders.
Exactly, but that is something that I really respect about how he develops his characters, is mainly because when you have two people that are leaders, that you usually
their charisma collides.
Exactly, you only usually need one person to be the leader, but at the same time, they have different strengths to where they are both charismatic, but Senku is more in the science and Ryusei knows about
adventuring and leading people.
Exactly, and he's really good at that. So it's awesome to see that combination really work out, and that's a perfect team to have out there traveling and doing all that they do. And then Senku made the teams basically, so he knew. Senku studies everybody that he works with and everybody that's around him, to where he knows exactly what teams will play out best and who matches the best strengths with who.
Because as annoying as Ryusu can be to everybody, he knows. Senku knows. He's useful for a lot of things. He's more useful than he is annoying. He's able to work with them in a very good way. Yeah. Very great manner as a team.
And then the other thing that I totally forgot about was the Dragos, the coins. They finally made currency, and they have Senku on the biggest one. They have
Ryusui on one of them.
Yeah, Ryusei's on one of them. Chrome, and
was it Tsukasa and Kohaku?
The old man Kaseki's on.
Right.
As well, and it it was so funny. I'm like,
they should have had a Suika.
No, they did.
Did they?
They did.
I don't remember them. I remember the coins, but I don't know. I don't remember the specific people. Yeah, because I think they showed like 7.
It was something like that, but I believe I saw Suika on one of them. I don't.
Which
know
she deserves
one.
it.
Exactly.
She was the one that revived them after 7 years.
Exactly. MVP put her face on a freaking coin for the new currency in the world, which is funny because it's like, how are they gonna I don't know.
Hey, cryptocurrency money, it has worth when the people give it worth. Exactly. Anything can have worth when people give it worth. That's what they're doing. They're giving it worth so they can be the richest ones when all of this is over.
Or Yusei wants to be the richest one, because he is the man that desires everything in this world.
The greediest character.
Yeah,
he's a good character. He's one of our main characters. That's funny.
Really funny. For Dr. Stone,
that was pretty much it. It was really short. It was really short because they partied hard.
They party. Now, my hero.
Back to the journeys of Batman. My journey into the darkness.
Where is he?
Says Deku.
The chapter starts off with Endeavor calling Deku and asking him, "Where are you, boy? Like, where you at, boy?" and you know you need a rest. You're not resting up, and he's like, I'm fine. I'm Batman.
We finally see him in the light, away from the shadows, and we see how ragtag he is. He looks really worn out. He said that he hasn't been getting enough rest. He hasn't let his injuries heal properly.
And he's starting to have conversations with the other users of One for All as well. They're keeping tabs on him and checking in on him regularly and telling him, hey, like, I don't know if you kind of want to be doing this. But it was interesting to see within the vestiges of One for All, some of them had their own opinions about what was going on, because
like
All
One
Might's,
for All,
All Might's
teacher, she felt reluctant to have given her personal feelings, or having him to fulfill her personal feelings, which is to stop Shigaraki.
Having him bear the weight of her emotions.
So she feels like she put a burden on him, and seeing how he is now, she feels guilty. But the original brother of All for One was like, nah, he's doing the right thing.
He's doing the right thing. And also, right after her, that interjected her was the user for Black Whip. Don't remember his name, but he basically said the same thing. He was like, no, he's good. He's doing the right thing, even though he may seem a little angry or something. He still wants to save people. That's what's driving him right now. And then it goes away from that back to Deku. Deku encountering villains on the street. He saves people, and he asks the people after saving them, "Are you okay?" And they get scared of him
because they're looking at someone. He doesn't look like a hero. Totally looks like a villain.
And the other thing that they noticed about him was that he used multiple quirks, and they immediately assumed, "Do you work for All for One?" And he was like, "No, I don't work for All for One." And they're like, "Oh, okay."
They just accept it real quick. Oh, okay.
And they run away. They scamper away, but I felt like he was in shock that they.
But it's funny that even now the public knows All for One and what he's able to do. So they all have experienced this.
I feel like what was even more shocking is that the fact that he was shocked, because he's so hell bent on
stopping this man, and he's shocked that people are comparing him to him.
He hasn't had the time to reflect, honestly, like, on what he's doing, because he's so invested in stopping.
He's so focused. He's one track mind right now, so he hasn't really had time to calm his own emotions.
Yeah.
So he can snap at any moment.
And that's as I said, that line that he might snap, and then he finally meets another guy, another villain that's wanting to another hired gun to take him to All for One. And his name was Dictator. And I'm like, that's a really interesting name. And then we finally learn his powers.
Yeah, here's something cool. So the really, really cool thing about Deku that I forgot. But remember, Deku always has a journal on all the villains and heroes that All Might has come across. Not only that, but because he had no powers, he was thinking of working like as a police officer, as a detective, to help superheroes, which is why he kept his journal to have a bunch of information on a bunch of different powers and quirks. And now it's really useful. Like, he knew Dictator and his powers and he even remembers the date that he was captured and all that. He has all that memory stored in his mind. So he's using the knowledge that he used to take down with his journal in the past when he was quirkless, and now all of that's helping him.
Absolutely. The hero that took Dictator down was Crust. R.I.P.
Deku knew that because Deku has a history book. He is a historian.
Yeah, he is literally a history book, and it's working in his favor now that he's fighting these old villains that were locked up for years, and now they're being released. This guy's power is really annoying. It's a perfect power for a villain. Controls people kind of like Doflamingo.
Yeah, like a puppeteer,
like a puppet master. And he's having all these people attack Deku, and Deku's trying to think of a way to stop him, because
he's not doing anything. He's just letting everything happen. He's just standing completely still while all these people approach him like zombies, and they're all apologizing like we don't want to do this.
Yeah, and he knows.
And
he holds nothing. He holds nothing against them because he knows how his power works, and the only way to free them of that power is to hit them, knock them out,
or take out Dictator,
or take him out and knock him down. And then he's getting surrounded and flooded with all these people attacking him.
I like that moment. It was like zombies taking over,
and his face was
little by little, his face was closing up.
It was really good. I really like that artwork too. And then out of nowhere,
who shows up?
A blast.
I think it was that dude with the power of Black Whip who mentioned that the only people that can get him out of this situation or what he needs right now is, and then it happens. And then our boy Bakugo shows up.
Freaking Bakugo.
Which in the last video, if you watched it, we mentioned that most likely the only ones who are able to stand by Deku would be Bakugo and Shoto. The chapter ends with Bakugo showing up, and his line was, "Hey guys, he's here." The fact that he said, "Hey guys, he's here," and I'm telling Eric, like, either obviously he's not alone, so either there's a handful of his classmates or his whole classmates are with him, which would be lame, honestly.
Exactly.
But at the same time, everybody has their backs. The whole class is a unit.
Yeah.
So they probably would be the ones to want to help. Because remember, this is their story. This isn't just Deku's story. It's everybody's story. So they wouldn't let one of their classmates face the future and with the problems that are currently happening on his own.
Yeah. I would say it's probably a handful of them. I wouldn't say it's the entire classroom.
That'd be a smart thing.
My first thought was the heroes, the older heroes, Endeavor and the rest of them, told Bakugo and Shoto about it. Mainly because they know out of everybody in the classroom, they are the top and they can hold themselves against the villains. Not saying that everybody else can, but it's a different time right now, and these villains are kind of unhinged and getting these power-ups, have multiple quirks that they're given to by All For One. So the ones that would be able to combat that a lot easier, not have as much issues running solo, because a lot of these heroes are running solo, and it would be Bakugo and Shoto. But at the same time, not saying that the rest of the class might be in groups as well and helping out the rest, because I'm pretty sure they are helping out the other people, but they wanted mainly Bakugo and Shoto to go look for.
Yeah, but Deku. He said, "Hey guys." He would say, "Hey, he's here." If it was just one more person, but the fact that he said, "Hey guys," is multiple people.
Yeah, and the multiple people that I thought was Endeavor and the rest of the pro heroes.
I'm pretty sure it's just going to be his classmates. Why? Because of what that dude Black Whip said. Yeah. The people that he needs right now, it's not adults. Yeah. Adults cannot right now connect with Deku at the stage where he's at. The only ones that could connect with Deku are his classmates. Yeah. Kids of his own age.
Even then, I would still say Bakugo or Shoto or just Bakugo by himself. Like,
he said, "Hey guys, he's here." Hey guys.
I mean,
what does that sound like?
Yeah, but who's there with him right now is just him. Yeah, they might be like further away, but
no. But I'm saying, I'm saying, who do you think is with him? You just think one more person is with him?
No. Like, I meant they're physically with him.
Well, obviously,
it's just Bakugo.
Well, we just saw that, but he's calling out to people. He's not using a communicator. He literally just screamed it out. He has a strong voice.
No, so he is. He has a phone in his hand.
I did not see that. I thought that was his glove.
He had a phone in his hand. And the only people communicating with phones right now, well, never mind. That was a dumb thing for me to say. But he had a phone in his hand. So, as I said, it might be the pro heroes.
My thing is, I would prefer it if it's just a handful.
Me too. I would prefer just a handful
and his classmates, because that's the only thing that makes sense. I don't think any adult hero can connect with him, because even All Might failed. Yeah. If All Might fails, there's nothing any other adult can do. Yeah. So it's just only his classmates that can help him. Yeah. To snap him back into reality. Or back to his senses. Because right now he's in a dark place.
Back to reality?
Back to his senses, I said.
Back to reality. Oop, there goes gravity. But we'll see in the... It's not on break. It won't be on break next week, good. I believe.
Well, I did see... You know how Shounen Jump app tells you how many days? Yeah. I saw 14 days. So it might be on break next week.
Okay, it might be on break. So we'll have to wait a week for that. But we'll see what happens. But as I say, I'm still standing by the fact that it's Bakugo, Shoto working together, and Bakugo's calling the adults. I'm sticking with that, because that's what I thought at first, and I'm just.
And for me, it's just his classmates are the ones that are going to try to reel Deku in, because they're the only ones. It only makes sense that the children try to grow up together. That's the adults, sometimes you don't want to hear it, and I feel like that's where Deku is right now. Yeah, especially since he turned away from All Might. So I would even expect All Might to be there. He's like really worried, but at the same time, I don't want him to be there.
Nah, same. I don't want him to be there either. there's nothing for him to do anymore.
Yeah.
They're in his last act as a hero. You know, he takes a
One
shot.
last when he finally confronts All for One, I feel like All Might give his last bit of life in him to either try to stall All for One, anything that happens in the confrontation.
Yeah, I feel like
I think that'll be the end of All Might.
I feel like it's gonna be even before that. They might encounter like
a trap
set by the villain league, and then he dies before even the final confrontation with All for One. And it's crazy how this is gonna turn out, because right now Shigaraki's not controlling his own body. All for One's controlling it,
but he's fighting against
it as much as he can. But
I like that Shigaraki himself is not in control. That All for One is trying to take control of everything that he can, and Shigaraki himself doesn't want to be used.
Yeah,
he even said that, like, I'm not you.
Yeah,
and I'm my own person, and I'll do what I want.
I feel like that's why he implanted him with the original quirk, because one of All for One's powers, well, his power, All for One, he's actually able to transfer even his own quirk, and he can leave himself with a double of it, not the original one. He gave Shigaraki the original quirk. He might have. Now we know that he can leave
like a copy of himself, like a soul of
exactly.
There
might be a way that he found out. He's like, hey, if I can do this, I can take over this boy's body.
So basically, he's pulling Orochimaru.
Dang, that's what I was gonna say.
This boy. Yep.
Literally.
Well, anime, it's a circle.
It's a circle of life. Come here, Sasuke.
Remember, there is no anime at the moment, not even Demon Slayer, that is original. Everything is consistently the same, just told in a different manner. I'm a storyteller. I studied this thing.
The other thing that was basically it for My Hero.
Yeah, it was it felt pretty short and everything.
Yeah.
That's because, like, One Piece, there was a lot going on. Mm-hmm. There was a lot more huge drawings and dialogues than there was action. Dr.Stone, they partied, which they deserve. And My Hero, it's this whole situation with Deku.
Yeah.
Being Batman, working solo.
Batman. The other thing that I was going to mention is there's a new story called Red Hood, and it was a new story that's coming up. I was just like, that's interesting.
A new Shounen story.
Mm-hmm. For some reason, it reminded me of Fairy Tail. It reminded me of Fairy Tail.
The artwork is similar to, I would say, Hunter.
Hunter. So the funny thing is, right, when I was reading through the first chapter,
55 pages.
I saw the lady, right? The one that you saw. Whenever a new manga gets published that they see potential in, and they get the front lead cover of Shonen Jump, that usually means they have a really good potential for it. They'll post a picture on the app of the front cover on there, and there's a lady there. And I looked at it and I was like, Lady Nagant? Because as I was going through the story, I'm like, his character, like the female character, really looks a lot like how Horikoshi draws his female characters. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. That's weird, right? So at the end of I think I've talked about this before, at the end of every issue of Jump, there's always author comments. Horikoshi, on his author comment, hey, go check out Red Hood, done by a previous assistant of mine that just recently released. And I'm like, I see now why she looks like kind of, there's influence there. He was a previous assistant for Horikoshi, so he might have gotten the influence from how he draws his female characters, because assistants have to know how
to draw in the author's art style, and they develop it. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that their art style will be similar.
No, it definitely wasn't similar compared to
I didn't get that feeling at all.
It was just mainly for that
specific female character.
That specific female character.
Okay.
Right? But everything else was completely original. It looked different.
Not everything is original.
It had the feeling of fairy tale, like old fairy tale.
So the setting in this story is almost like medieval times with magic, with fairy tale monsters. The main character, Velo, I think his name was.
Oh, dang, you remembered it because I didn't remember it.
Yeah, so Velo lives in this village and he goes and he hunts a little small animal and he's all like happy about it. And everybody's like, that's nothing to be happy about. There's this werewolf. They mention a werewolf killing all villagers. And he's happy and he's like, one day I'll be strong enough to kill that werewolf. It's like, we'll be dead by that time, boy.
That was good. That was a good line right there.
And then the chief, the village chief, who's a big, hunky Santa Claus looking man, he sold his sheep and he sold his house. He sold everything of his property just so he could hire a guild hunter. And that's how the story begins. And once the guild hunter comes in, turns out to be a loli.
It's a little loli.
It's a little girl. And then they feel like screwed over because it's a little girl. How is a little girl going to help us? She's so confident. She's like, hey, you either want our help or you don't. Velo felt insulted because our chief just sold all of his property, everything that he owned. And they sent you? This man just gave up everything. Yeah, so I can kill it. Can you? Apparently you can't. So they just let me do my job and just lead me to where it's at. And so Velo does. It's weird that they sent him, right?
Yeah.
But then again, he's our main character.
Yeah. I really like the chief's attitude because he told Velo, he's like, hey, don't get upset because either way, if I didn't sell this stuff and we didn't hire them,
we'll be dead.
We'll be dead anyway.
I like his attitude.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
positive attitude.
Like, it wouldn't be worth anything if I'm dead.
Like, so I'm just gonna pay to protect all of y'all. So he
like,
cared about
if she
them.
fails, she'll die, and then we'll die, and then nothing would matter. So he does tell the villagers, everybody pack up and get ready to leave just in case. He takes her to where the people were getting killed and the outskirts of the village. And then she mentions that she smelled that she thinks that one of the villagers is the werewolf because someone had a rotting smell of a werewolf. And they see a outhouse, a cabin. And they go in and there's a pile of bones. So like, whoop, someone's a werewolf in this village.
Who did you think it was when you saw that?
I thought it was the village chief.
What did I think? I don't think. No, who did I think it was? So I thought it was going to be the old lady because I thought that it was the village chief that was a werewolf. But, and then I saw the
old lady, like out of nowhere, the old lady talked and she calmed the whole situation, everybody's quarrels of it being a little girl. And it was the granny who told him, like, give her a chance. Like, she looks spunky, spontaneous. Like, what else do we have to lose? And if she fails, we can get out of here.
Yeah. And then immediately when I saw the lady, I'm like, it was the chief.
You know, I thought, as they were talking and she was saying that she had a suspicion that one of the villagers was the werewolf. And then we saw the bones in the middle. And then they were huge. I knew that the chief was dead. So I'm like, okay, so it's not the chief. That's sad because he's dead now. Because she said these are human bones. And I'm like, the only big guy that we ever saw was the chief. I'm like, oh man, he died.
It's great character progression for him.
And then the granny was there. I'm like, oh, it's obviously her. They try to play it off, but Velo, our main character, is like, no, granny,
no.
Or the chief came. She said that he fled through the window chasing the werewolf. And he's all like, the village chief is a really husky, huge guy. He wouldn't fit through that window. So tell us where the werewolf really went. And then she transformed.
One of the things that was really interesting, once they fight the werewolf, you see the little Lori
transform into a full-grown, voluptuous woman.
Yep. And I was like, of course this is gonna happen.
So if you like waifus, thick waifus, this is it.
It reminded me of what was the not Nejima, the
oh my gosh,
that UQ holder wasn't something UQ holder was able to do that.
Oh my god, I know who you're talking about.
Right?
I'm not remembering because I'm a big fan of Negima. Oh my god,
it's okay, but you understand.
Yes,
right?
I know. But there's characters in animes where lolis transform into full-grown women.
Yeah.
One big one that I can remember right now, and for those who have watched it, is I just said I remembered it and I just lost it. No. Action fighting ecchi.
Oh, Tenjo Tenge.
Tenjo Tenge.
Tenjo Tenge. If you haven't seen it, it's a classic. What are you doing?
It's ecchi. Don't watch it if you don't like ecchi.
True, but if you like hands and you like people beating the crap out of each other and ecchi, bro, check it out. It's good. 18 plus only. 18 plus only. 18 plus only.
Listen to them. If you like that one and you want to know what happens after the anime ends, read the manga. It's really good.
Also really good.
We're not even gonna get into Tenjo Tengen, but I'm gonna mention this. Tenjo Tengen is one of those mangas or series where I love because it's hard to tell who was the main character. The anime's main character,
I hated that
or the
so
story
much.
when it progressed, and it was the Goody Two Shoes who became kind of the main character by the end.
I hated that so
I
much.
liked it because it was two. It was like you had Iron Man and Captain America. Who's the main character? The leader of the Avengers, or the guy who is the important one?
The guy who's the important one.
Yeah.
And the reason I say I hated that is because I wanted him to be the main character from the beginning. It looked like had his own monologue. What main character doesn't have their own inner monologue? Side characters don't have inner monologue for the most part. There are cases. Your main character always has inner monologues, and he had an inner monologue.
Yeah,
He's
but if you think about it, Goody Two Shoes had a better story than the main character, which is what made him the second main character in my book. My main character is always the one you start with, and that's another case where a loli transforms to a woman.
There you go. We sidetracked, but we came back onto it. That's another one. So.
Now back to Velo. So yeah, the granny turns out to be a werewolf. She ate the old man, the chief, who turns out that Velo lost his parents early on in his life, and the chief was the one that took him in and raised him. So basically he lost his father figure, his mentor.
Exactly.
And what does that mean? Hero's journey.
Exactly. And from the very first chapter too. That's
really
how
it's done.
That's really awesome. And then the lowly girl transforms. She ends up getting eaten.
That was funny. She didn't even put up a fight or a struggle. She just gets caught, eaten. What, girl? She was talking like a badass. Run, I'll handle this.
Velo picks up the axe and just
of the village chief. So the village chief had a weapon, which was an axe. He picked it up, dodges a few attacks, and finally gets in close enough for a jump and cuts it right in half.
And homegirl comes out and
Grim. Her name is Grim. Oh, yes, I was trying to remember this whole time.
In this story, I don't know if you caught on, but it's obvious that they're using
fairy tale stories.
Exactly. The lady
I do not know you were leading to that. I just mentioned it.
Nice. The werewolf, I'm gonna
huff.
No, she didn't say that.
I thought she said that.
No, she said, she's like, oh, what are these big hands for? So I can catch you. What are these big teeth for?
But
so
see, that's
I
what
can
the
eat you.
Huff and Puff story, like the big bad werewolf.
And then Grim, and then her name is Grim. What are the tale of the brothers Grimm or something like that?
Yeah,
I don't remember the fairy tale story, but something like that, right?
So he's gonna involve a lot of fairy tales-esque stories, popular ones or old school ones, into his universe.
So it's gonna be really cool. Interesting,
and it looks pretty interesting. The artwork's pretty decent, and the story is pretty good. So he does cut off Grim. She's all like, oh, you managed to cut her belly. And she just falls. And he catches her. And then she's all like, oh, we're going to be okay. It's like, but she's not dead yet. No, she's dead. Planted a bomb in her. I'm like, what? And then boom.
But I love how he drew it is because he freaked out and she walked away
like
from
a badass. He's like stumbling and she's walking like a badass.
And it was crazy. One of the things I noticed as well is mainly because he's a kid, right? But the fact that the author was able to explain this when she came out of the belly, she saw like it was cut, and she said, "There's no way
a regular axe wouldn't do this."
No, but she mainly pointed at the kid. She was like, "This is a scrawny little kid. There's no way he was able to do this." And she looks at the axe, and she's like, "So the axe might have been
a special weapon. So the village chief, might have been an adventurer in the past."
Yeah. So I was like, that was really good.
And I like that really they mentioned that all the weapons that she uses, there's 616 different magic tool weapons that they use to kill monsters. That axe might be one of them.
Exactly.
And I love the fact that it's 616. I don't know if that's Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Marvel Universe, the comics, the Earth is 616. That's immediately what I thought.
Hey, that's cool. I don't know.
Who knows if you got inspiration from it?
The other thing that I really, really liked when he was he was mad that the fact that, they sent a girl and she told him, we're not heroes. We're hunters. We're not here to save people. We're
here to get paid and do the job that we're assigned to do.
And I love that. And then I think she mentions it at the end as well when she's talking to him about becoming a hunter, like, we're not heroes. And that immediately gave me a really good vibe to it. I'm like, that's awesome.
That they stated early on, like, don't expect what they're going to do be essentially a good thing all the time. they're not gonna save everybody. They're gonna
Exactly.
save, or they're gonna do what they're being paid to do. But maybe our boy Bello is gonna lead to that hero aspect, so he's gonna try to save everybody, but he's gonna learn the hard way why she says that.
Yeah.
So he's probably gonna fail like Yuji to save people.
And that's why I caught that really early on. I'm like,
Again,
that's really good.
I mentioned this in the last video. These Shounen stories are getting just a little bit darker. They just, in order to be good, apparently nowadays, they need to have that dark aspect. So where the hero fails. Gone are the days of Luffy, Goku. They save everybody. Now these new Shounen stories, just a little failure goes a long way.
He didn't say base.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But that happened decades later.
Yeah. So I thought that was really, really interesting. I was like, very early on, they're stating it. So check out Red Hood. Really, really, really interesting first chapter. Might have some potential there in the future.
We probably won't be mentioning this until it gets like really good, or it's like 10 chapters, double chapters in.
If you don't know, when the mangas start out, there's always a chance that they fail, right?
And once they flop, if they don't make it up the rankings, they will be axed.
If you're using the Shonen Jump app, pay attention every week how they have all the stories lined up. It's on purpose the way they have them set up, because they're copying how they are in the actual
rankings.
Not the rankings, well, rankings, but in the actual Shonen Jump magazine, if you were to read it physically, they're always going to start off from the one that's doing the best to the one that's doing the worst. And the one that did the worst was Untitled C for this week. It's done. Last week it was Hard Boiled and Dolphin. Interesting story. It's over. It got cut because it wasn't popular, but I would still read it, mainly because the first.
I laugh when it's Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin. Okay, what's the dolphin have to do with it? Then they go into the story where they talk about this little girl who could communicate with dolphins, and they worshipped her for some reason for being able to communicate with dolphins.
Yeah.
And then at one point when they tell you who's your new partner, you see this muscular guy, taps him in the shoulder, turns to look at him, and it's a dolphin. It's a muscular dolphin. I was like, what?
That is lit.
No, everybody acts like it's normal, and this guy is looking like, what is going on? He just accepts it. Like, he looks around, he's like, everybody's just accepting this, I guess I will too.
And it was funny because the first chapter they introduced the hard-boiled cop. He's like, I'm so cool that my thought bubbles, you'll see the thought bubbles on the page, my thought bubbles have blood and guns. And his thought bubbles are outlined in blood and guns. He's like, that's how badass I am. As soon as I read that first chapter and they introduced the dolphin, the muscular dolphin, and I immediately thought, if you've seen the movie, The Other Guys is literally that.
That's pretty great.
But it's over. It got cut. Unfortunately, it wasn't as popular as I wanted it to be. And then also ITLC, which was detective manga, got cut. Why? Because if you're not Conan, detective mangas are apparently insanely hard to do. Like,
of course
it's insanely hard to make a really, really good detective manga.
Yeah, because even if you make a detective manga and you want to go more of a mature aspect, you can only go so far before wherever you're being publicized. You can only take it so far. You have to ride a thin line. And Kodokawa did a great job in keeping Detective Conan, which has been going on as almost as long as One Piece. No, I would say probably a year longer. I think it was a year longer than One Piece with the same story for 20 years, and the technology changes, but in the storyline, only like 2 years have passed because it started in high school. They're still in high school, but where we got from flip phones to now we have smartphones, like in 2 years, my guy? I don't think so. I love Detective Conan though, I really do.
And it was funny because the reason I'm saying that detective mangas are hard to do is because of Bakuman. And they explained it in Bakuman as well when they were making detective manga. They're like, it's insanely hard to do. So if you haven't
read Bakuman or watched Bakuman, it's a story of two high school boys, straight out of high school, teaming up to try to make a manga. One the story creator and one the artist.
And they literally put Shueisha in there. And it's them working for Shueisha at Shonen Jump. And it explains a lot about the manga industry and how everything works. That's how I learned about the the rankings per week and which one gets the axe on there. So
did I tell you about Pokemon?
mm-hmm. Yeah, you
Right?
did. Yeah,
Because I had read
started reading it.
I read it like in 2012 or 11 or something like that, and then I had just mentioned it.
Yeah,
Like there's things I know, and Eric mentioned something, or he's curious about something, and I know
exactly
because of my years that I just mentioned one thing that I got from either anime, manga, or whatever. If I got it from anime or manga, then I'll tell you where to read it. He usually looks it up. He tells me to read stuff that I should, and then I get to it late and regret later. Like Jujutsu Kaisen is one of my biggest regrets of not getting into soon enough.
Mm-hmm. Chainsaw Man's gonna be another one.
And Chainsaw Man, I'm gonna read it soon. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, but Bakuman, yeah, you'll get to learn about a lot of the industry in there. It's really interesting. Also made by the creators of Death Note that I cannot name for the life of me right now.
Which is funny because it's such a different. You go from writing in a Death Note to kill someone to drawing cartoons, drawing anime, manga.
And Death Note and Bakuman, same creators because it's two. One's working on the story, the other one works on the drawings. And it worked. It was really.
I would say that the artwork for Bakuman was better than Death Note.
Absolutely, it really was. It was like you were reading a manga inside of a manga. Like...
So this takes me back, and this is another difference between what is Shounen, what is a Shounen series, what is a Shounen story. Bakuman was a Shounen story, but it's just them writing and trying to create a manga. How is that exciting? It really is. It feels like a battle manga. Where they're putting everything on the line. They're trying to beat deadlines. They're trying to compete in these rankings with other mangakas, and they try to work with other mangakas to improve themselves. Love story going on in the middle of everything. They fail. They try. They fail. They succeed a little bit. Fail again. It's tough work. It feels like a battle. It's a battle of life, trying to get your career started.
And kudos to them for being able to do that because, as JT said, there's a lot of dialogue and. It's really hard to keep someone interested when they have to read a lot of dialogue, but they're able to do it, and it was awesome, really awesome.
Unlike for what was that manga's name? What was that manga's name that got axed? I tell see you later. And with that
concludes everything we wanted to talk about for this episode
of this week.
Yeah,
or this episode. We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
We'll work on it. As I said before, I always say if you haven't checked out our other videos, go ahead and do so. We have some really, really good stuff up on the channel. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Out.
Adios.
You have a banger on your hand.